Okay, here's the deal with my face. Yeah, okay, so I'm doing this treatment on my face right now. And honestly, I thought about just stepping away from my channel entirely until I was done with it. But after some encouragement from some of my Patreon people, specifically Matt Herring and Aaron Robinson, I decided I would go ahead and push forward. Also, a comment from Tim Robinson in one of my recent videos encouraged me to do a video about this because it might be something that would be important for other people to know about. And I actually did do a video about this a couple of years ago because I did this treatment a couple of years ago too, but I only had like 200 subscribers at that time. So now this might actually be a message that reaches more people, and it might be important for some people to hear. So here goes. By the way, for the nerds out there who just watch this channel for the science stuff, stick around. There's plenty of that in this as well. So to explain this, let's go in the way, way back machine. Back to the 1970s when disco was king, and my mother, a woman who's so pale that she makes milk look tan, fell in love with my father, who turns a darker shade when he walks past a window. They fell in love, made the beast with two backs, and I was the product of that buggery. So the universe stirred its genetic crockpot and decided to give me my father's complete lack of self-confidence, but make up for it by giving me my mother's complete lack of melanin. And then said, raise this boy in Texas, which is 30 feet from the surface of the sun. And then around 5th grade, I fell in love with tennis. I played tennis for hours a day, almost every single day. If I didn't have somebody to play with, I'd go and hit it against the gym wall down the street. And that means going to tennis camps where I was out in the sun all day long. At one tennis camp, I was actually out in the sun so much that the top layer of skin on my nose literally peeled off. All that practice paid off when I won the district championship 2 years in a row in high school. Thank you. And all that sun exposure paid off when I was 36 and had a skin cancer removed from my forehead. Alright, so I go to the dermatologist every 6 months or so, and every single time I go, I wind up getting something frozen off. And these spots are called solar keratosis or actinic keratosis, and it's basically just a small, flaky, dry patch of skin that can sometimes bleed if you scratch it or something like that. And it's caused by sun damage. Now these are called potential precancers because over time, if you don't do anything about it, they can have a 10% chance of turning into some type of skin cancer. Usually a squamous cell carcinoma, but in much rarer cases, basal cell carcinoma. Now, just saying the C word can be scary. So let's break all this down and put it all into perspective here. There are 3 main types of skin cancers: basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and melanoma. Basal cell carcinomas are by far the most prevalent. There's over 4 million cases of these reported every single year, but they are also the least dangerous. They don't metastasize outside of the lesion right there on your skin. Squamous cell carcinomas are the second most frequent, with about 1 million of them reported every year. And while they also don't metastasize, they do cause deaths in about 8,000 people per year. But those are extremely rare, and those often occur in the mouth. It's also a type of oral cancer. And of course, the scariest type of skin cancer is the melanoma. This is the type that does metastasize in other places of the body, and it kills about 10,000 people in the United States every year. And actually there's another lesser known type of skin cancer called Merkel cell carcinoma, which is very rare, but it's also very aggressive. So melanoma kills 1 out of 6 people that get it. Merkel cell carcinoma kills 1 out of every 3. So that's scary, but again, to put that in perspective, the keratosis that I deal with only has a 10% chance of becoming a squamous cell carcinoma, which itself only has a 0.8% mortality rate, or you could say a 99.2% survival rate. I'm pretty safe. So really with the basal and squamous cell carcinomas, the real danger is just that you can become disfigured over time if you don't do something about it. Don't get me wrong, I'm still terrified of melanomas, but the keratosis that I deal with almost never turns into that. Alright, so my doctor's freezing off one spot after another, and after a while I'm coming in and she's freezing off so many of them, she's like, alright, it's time to stop doing the spot treatment and do some scorched earth shit here. So she prescribed this. It's a cream called Zyclara. The active ingredient in this is called imiquimod, and what it does is actually kind of amazing. It actually fools your body into thinking that the cells with sun-damaged DNA are foreign invaders, and it turns your immune system against those cells. Now, to get super nerdy, what this actually does is it activates a protein called toll-like receptor 7, or TLR7, and it plays an important role in pathogen recognition. So once it's activated, it signals to macrophages to produce a whole stew of cytokines like interferon A, interleukin 6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha that then attack these damaged cells and pop them and then clear out the path so that the skin can grow back clean. In fact, interesting side note, many of you know that I make this pill for canker sores, which is based on the theory that canker sores are caused by an overproduction of tumor necrosis factor alpha, which I have. So that might explain why the dermatologist says that I have one of the strongest reactions to this drug that she's ever seen. By the way, if you want to Google some images of what people look like when they use this, you should probably know this is also used for genital warts. So yeah. It would also explain why my mouth breaks out in canker sores whenever I use this. Which on one hand really sucks, but on the other hand, it's definitely carpet bombing the sun damage. All right, so the protocol for using this is basically you put it on for 2 weeks, let your skin heal for 2 weeks, and then do a second cycle for another 2 weeks. So yeah, right now I don't feel good. This does actually cause flu-like symptoms because it stresses your immune system so much. So I've felt really run down, really tired. I get real achy in my joints, my glands are swollen, all that kind of stuff. But weirdly, all the grossness and the discomfort are good things because that means it's working. That means it's clearing out all the sun damage, and I'm going to be able, once I'm done with this, to move on with peace of mind and know that it's not going to be a problem later on. This is just something you have to do when you're pale and you have a lot of sun damage. So wear sunscreen, kids. Learn from my lesson. So I did this on my cheek because actually looking back over the videos of this last year, I saw that I had this mark on my cheek that had been there almost the entire year. I really should have done this months ago. It's just never a good time to look like this, you know? And I decided to do my nose at the same time because, you know, like I said, I had a whole lot of sun damage on my nose when I was growing up. And it was actually only after I started using it and saw what it was doing in the different parts of my nose that I looked back and saw that there were actual spots on my nose I didn't even know were there. As for what happens next, I've got an appointment with a dermatologist in the next week and a half or so, and depending on what she says, I'm probably going to redo my forehead because I only did it once the last time, and I need to get the top of my ears because they got a whole lot of sun damage. But the thing about the forehead and the ears is I can wear a hat and cover that up, so it's not that big a deal. I also need to get this side of my face and get my nose for a second time, and eventually I need to get the back of my neck, which is gonna suck. Major genitalia. And I really need to get my forearms and the top of my hands as well. This is gonna go on for a while. And all of this is from sun damage I got 20 years ago. I avoid the sun like the plague now. I gave up on the whole tall, dark, and handsome trifecta years ago. I always knew I wasn't tall. I have now completely given up on ever being dark, but luckily I am still quite handsome. Did I mention the pus? So it kind of sucks to be spending New Year's like this. I'm not going out. I'm staying home. I'm not partying. I am not being around people, which really sucks. But I'm kind of trying to make a life thing out of it. I'm kind of considering it, I'm kind of cocooning right now, you know. I'm cleaning out all this physically. Maybe I could do the same thing emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. And, you know, I'm in my 40s now. It's time to set up the second half of my life in a way that sets me up for success and happiness. And, you know, maybe this could be the thing that kicks that off. I've got to give big credit to my wife who looks at me like this every day and manages to not throw up in her mouth. Or at least if she does it very discreetly so I don't know about it. But I think that spells it out. If you have any questions about this, you can ask it in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer it. And how about all you pale people out there? Do you have any dermatology horror stories? Have you had any treatments that have been really traumatic to go through? Let's gross each other out in the comments below. The big takeaway here is basically I apologize for this. I apologize if it gets in the way of me doing some videos or if it slows down my production of videos. I promise you in a few months this will all pass and you'll have no idea that it ever happened. Alright, thanks for watching. You guys go out and have an eye-opening week. Wear sunscreen for God's sake. And I'll see you next time. Happy New Year. Love you guys. Take care.